Okay, Rabotai, Boker Or, we are going to start at the bottom of page Hey Amud Aleph, okay? Because we're in the middle of a teaching of Rav Nachman, Rabbi Yitzchak, and all of these teachings are bound together by the fact that Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, or Rav Nachman said to Rav Yitzchak, in the name of a certain teacher. So let's understand this, and the answer was given in each one of these scenarios by Rabbi Yochanan. Ve'amale, second line down from the bottom of Hey Amud Aleph. Turn back one page.
It's this, no?
Go back to one page. No, we're going to start with the bottom page over here. Okay, because that's the beginning of the sentence. Ve'amale Rabbi Nachman Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Nachman said to Rabbi Yitzchak, "Mai dichtiv ki shtayim ra'ot asa ami." That there were two sins that my people did. Tartinu, there are two sins. Dehavu, esrin ve'arba shvika lehu. There are 24 sins that are enumerated by the Navi that the Jewish people did. Why is it saying that they did two sins? Amaleh hachi am Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yitzchak said to Rav Nachman, he answered, Rabbi Yochanan said as follows, Ahat shehi shekula, turn to page Hey Amud Bet. Ahachi kishekula kishetayim. It's one sin which is equal to two sins. So when it says two sins, it doesn't mean two sins to the exclusion of more. It means it's a dual sin. Shtayim, they did a dual sin. Umayniyu, what is this dual sin? This one sin which counts like two. Avodah zarah, the worship of idols. Dichtiv kishtayim ra'ot asa ami. Two sins did my people do. Oti azavu mikol mayim hayim. They left the source of living waters, lahatzov lehem be'erot nishbarim, to dig for themselves pits, right, holes, to dig for themselves these wells that are broken. Uchtiv bahu. So I'm the source of life, of water, of life-giving, water. And what did they go dig? They dug for themselves broken wells. So what does that mean? Uchtiv bahu. It says. In the pasuk, ki avru iye kutim, Kitim. They passed by the islands of the Kitim, and they saw Kedar. Shalechu v'hitbonu me'od. They sent and they were able to intensely observe. Hahemir goy Elohim. Are there any nations that abandon their gods? Vehema lo Elohim. And the gods that they abandoned were not gods. Ve'ami hemir kibodo below yo'il. And my people, they gave up his honor, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's honor, below yo'il for nothing. Tana, the Gemara explains, Kutiyim ovdim le'esh. The people that were Kutiyim, they served fire. V'kedarayim, and the people from Kedar, ovdim lamayim, they served water. That's their idol. V'afapishi yodeim, and even though they know, shehamayim mechabin et ha'esh, they know that water puts out fire. So how come the Kutiyim never said, you know what? Our God is easily vanquished by the God of the water, right? So let's move from, I don't know who the God of the fire is, but Hades maybe, right? And go to Zeus. Zeus is the God of the water? I think Zeus.
Poseidon is
Poseidon from the water. Let's go scooch over to the Avodah Zarah of the water. Lo emiru Elohim. They never did that. Ve'ami hemir kibodi below yo'il. So if they didn't go from fire to water, which was able to vanquish their God, they didn't leave me, God says. They didn't even leave me for a God that's better than me. They left me for a God, velo yo'il, that has not actually achieved anything. So in effect, what the pasuk is saying over here is that there's a dual level of chutzpah in the fact that Jewish people left God. Number one, no nation leaves their God, even if the other God's better. And now they left me even for a God that isn't better. So it's a double slap in the face. And that's why the Navi says, two people, my people did two sins. Rabbi Nachman said to Rabbi Yitzchak, "My dichtiv." What does it mean in the pasuk when it says, "Vayihi kasher zakan Shmuel"? When Shmuel became old. What do you mean when Shmuel became old? Mi sib Shmuel kulehai. Did Shmuel get so old that you're going to say? And it was when Shmuel got old. Veha barnun bet hava. He was 52 years old when he died.
That was old from back then.
So it wasn't old? You see, the pasuk is saying that it wasn't. The Gemara is asking, it wasn't old. Okay. The Amar Mar used to teach us right? Explain to us. Met benum bet shana. He died when he was 52 years old. Sorry. Somebody who dies when they're 52 years old. There were people that used to say if a person dies at the age of 50, so that they thought that they had, they got karet, because karet happens when a person is cut off from this world by the age of 50. 51, you didn't have karet anymore. Says the Gemara, if a person dies at 52 and he's worried, it's around the karet mark, right? Is that what happened to my dearly departed at 52? Don't worry about that. It's not a problem. Because Shemuel Haramati, who came from Ramah, he also died at 52. And he clearly was a big tzaddik. So it's not, at 52, you see, is not already a benchmark of karet. How do we know that Shemuel lived 52 years? So the Pasuk says that Shemuel was weaned from his mother, right? When she weaned him, she brought him up to the Beit HaMikdash, to serve under Eli, to become, to serve, do his act of service to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that she'd promised before he was born. So at that age, the Gemara says, when is a baby weaned? At the age of 2. That's already when you could start sending the kid to a play group. He doesn't need his mother 24/7. And she said at that time, I brought him to the Beit HaMikdash to be here ad olam. What does ad olam mean? Forever. Normally we say forever. Forever is a term which actually is defined by the context in which it's uttered. So as an example, like the Pasuk says by a Jewish slave, if he decides he wants to stay with his master, what do we say? That the person serves his master, right? Until when?
Forever.
Va'avado le'olam. He serves him forever. How long does he serve him for? Until Yovel. How long is Yovel? 50 years. So you see, ad olam is defined by the context. So too over here, ad olam, he's going to come and serve in the Beit HaMikdash. How long was the act of service? Until what age was the act of service by the Leviim? 50 years. So therefore, 50 years plus the 2 years that he was, we know that he lived for 52 years. So therefore, it's not considered a lifetime that was cut short by karet if he lived for 52 years. Amale, so therefore we're left with the question, what does it mean when Shemuel became old if we know he only lived till 52? Amale, he said, Hachi Amar Rabbi Yohanan. Rabbi Yohanan explained as follows, Zikna kafetza alav. Old age jumped upon him. Dichtiv, like it says, Nihamti ki himlachti et Shaul. I regretted, Hashem says, that I appointed Shaul the king over the Jewish people. God says to Shemuel. Where is this referring to? This is in the aftermath of the story of Amalek, when Shemuel did not do his job. He didn't do it as he was supposed to do. Shemuel comes to me, he says, what's going on? And Shaul tries to dodge the question. Not like David, where David instantly says, as soon as he realizes his sin, he says, Hatati, I sinned. Shaul doesn't say that. Shaul says, no, I didn't, the people, the thing, we thought better, excuses, okay? Because of that, he lost the melucha. So God says to Shemuel, Nihamti, I decided, I'm changing my mind, I don't want him to be anymore the king over the Jewish people. Amal lefanav, so Shemuel says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, listen to the power of a Navi, the power of a Sadiq. Amal lefanav, he says in front of him, Ribono shel olam, shikaltani ki Moshe ve'Aaron. You made me equal to Moshe ve'Aaron. Where? Dichtiv, like we say, Moshe ve'Aaron b'chohanav u'Shemuel b'koreh shemo. Moshe and Aaron in the service of his priesthood, Shemuel and Shemuel amongst those who call out in his name. So you equated me to Moshe and Aaron. Ma Moshe ve'Aaron lo betelu ma'aseh yedehem b'hayehem. Their life's work was not annulled in their lifetime, right? So too ma'aseh yadai also. Please, afani lo yitbatel ma'aseh yadai b'hayai. My deeds should not be undone in my lifetime. My greatest achievement was bringing Shaul to be the king. Okay, you're going to kill Shaul. You're going to move on from Shaul. It's my life's work. Don't take that from me while I'm alive. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Hechi Avid, what should I do? This is remarkable. Limot Shaul, that Shaul should die now. Lo kashabik Shemuel. Shemuel doesn't let. Did you hear that?
Because he can control his death.
Because Shemuel said, Hashem, you equated me to Moshe and Aaron. Let me have this. You can't take it away from me. Yeah. Shemuel doesn't let. That's what God says. God. That's the power of a Sadiq. Okay? Limot Shaul. So Limot Shemuel. You don't want him to die in your lifetime? No problem. You could die. Limot Shemuel. If Shemuel dies, Adezutar Mirani Abatre. Since he's young, what will the people say if I let him die early? They're going to say, oh, the guy died young. Hanky-panky, yani. Yeah. He got up to stuff. He was dipping his hand into the charity box. Whatever he was doing, he was stealing. He was doing the wrong thing. That's why he died young. In fact, if a guy 52 is worried about that he got karet, could you imagine Shemuel was 52? I don't know if he was 51. People would say, oh yeah, they maybe made a mistake in the calculation. Really, he was 50. This is really karet. Bar minan. So they're going to say things about him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I can't have that. Again, you hear that? Yeah. God is the PR man of Shemuel's reputation after he dies. How cool is this? Okay? Listen to the considerations of Borei Olam here. Lo limut Shaul v'lo limut Shemuel. Okay, so what's the other option? Neither of them die. So Shaul can't die now because Shemuel won't let. Shemuel can't die because I don't let. Shemuel and Shaul maybe, shouldn't die. Kvar higia malchut David. It's already the time for the kingdom of David. Ve'en malchut nogat bechavreta afil kim lo nima. One kingdom does not impinge upon the other, does not overlap upon the other, even the width of a hair's breadth. So Shaul can't be here when David is already supposed to be the king. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Akfitz alav zikna. I'll make him age prematurely. I'm going to let all of his hair go white. I'm going to let him get wrinkles, okay? And that way, even though he passes away at the young age of 52, I don't make him die earlier, but people will say, oh, the guy died, not because he was young. The guy was old. You see him? I saw the guy the other week. All white hairs, crow's nest. The guy needs a facelift. Upper East Side, baby. Okay? What are we saying over here? So what are we going to do? Akfitz alav zikna. Hainu dichtiv. This is what it means when it says, V'Shaul yoshev begiv'ah. Shaul was sitting in the valley, tahat ha'eshel barama, under the tree in Ramah. V'chima inyan giv'ah etzel Ramah. Ramah means a place which is high. That's why they call these places Ramat El Hanan, Ramot. It means the high places. Giv'ah is a valley. Ela lomar lecha, rather to tell you, mi garam ne Shaul sheyeshev bagiv'ah. Who caused that Shaul should sit in the valley begiv'ah? Shte shanim umechza, 2.5 years. Tefilato Shemuel haramati, the prayer of Shemuel haramati, the prayer of Shemuel haramati. Now, again, it's very important to understand, what does it mean? Why is he saying that he's giving the giv'ah?
What is Giv'ah?
Giv'ah is a valley. But it refers also to the place of Binyamin, to the area of Binyamin. Okay? And Ramah is in another area. It's not only that they're two different places topographically, high and low, but one is in the place of Ephraim and one is in the other place. and the tefillah, the prayers of Shemuel caused that Shaul should live in a place where he was not really supposed to be for 2.5 years. He was kept alive, ya'ani, by the prayers of Shemuel. Carries on the Gemara.
What was the whole thing about the Ramah and the Givah, Rabbi? Can you just...
Yeah, let me explain one more time. Shaul is living in a place, these two places are not connected, and the Pasuk seems to connect. Giv'ah is in the portion of Binyamin. Ramah is in the portion of Ephraim. They're not connected. So why in the world are we saying that Shaul was in the Giv'ah and then mentioned the Ramah? The answer is, what caused Shaul to be able to live, to stay alive in the place, because Shaul is from the tribe of Binyamin. What caused Shaul to remain on his throne, in other words? It's connected to Ramah, which is the place where Shemuel was from. What's Shemuel called? Shemuel ha-Ramati, right? So the Giv'ah was caused, you got that? by the Ramah. That's why Shaul stayed alive.
Wow.
The Gemara continues. Does a person actually get pushed aside from another person? Because what did we just teach? We just said that David Amelech, that Shaul could not stay alive. That was not an option, all right, for them both to stay alive and carry on living. Why? Because there's somebody else waiting in the wings. David Amelech is supposed to come. So does a person get pushed in front of another person? The Amar Shmuel ben Achmeni said, Amar Rabbi Yohanan, the name of Yohanan. What does it mean in the pasuk? Al ken hatzavti b'neviim haragtim be'imrefi b'ma'asehem lo ne'emar ela be'imrefi. One more time. The pasuk says, Al ken hatzavti. Therefore I dug out. Okay, now Al ken hatzavti. Therefore I dug out b'neviim in the prophets. Haragtim, I killed them be'imrefi, with the words of my mouth. When you kill someone, it's not with the words of your mouth, that's a deed. So what does it mean that the person was killed by the words of his mouth? He should be killed by Hashem's decisions, his actions. And the Gemara answers, no. Ela b'imrefi, alma midhi gavra mikame gavra. A person is pushed in front of another person. What does that mean? That since Hashem had said imrefi, had given his promise to someone that he was going to take over, so it was the word that he was going to take over that actually kills the previous Navi, because he can't be there after this now was promised to the next person. In fact, by the way, it's interesting how things overlap. We were talking about in the morning class about Moshe Rabbeinu asking to stay for longer. And one of the things that's brought down in the Midrashim in Rabbeinu Zechronam Devracha, Chazal say, is that it was Yehoshua's time to rule. And once it was Yehoshua's time to rule, Moshe could not live anymore as a ruler. Why? En malchut achat nogat behavreta afilu kemelonima. They can't overlap even like a hair's breadth. So that's why it wasn't an option. Moshe said, I'll also be a rabbi. I'll be another rabbi, you know what I mean? Or I'll be a rabbi for a little bit longer. Yehoshua will wait. But no, one kingdom cannot overlap on another, even a hair's breadth. I just want to point out one more thing. We have to end early because we have the 10:30 class, the 10:30 the packing going on downstairs. I need to be there to start off. So we have only a few minutes. I want to point out one more important thing. Shmuel asked a very interesting request. He says, you compared me to Moshe and to Aharon. And Moshe and Aharon, they did not see their life's work destroyed during their lifetime, right? Me, if Shaul dies before I die, then I'll see my life's work undone in my lifetime. Please, Hashem, don't let that happen. Now, what was Moshe and Aaron's lifetime achievement that was not taken away from them in their lifetime? What was that?
Taking the Jewish people out of Israel.
Sorry? So Jonah is saying the answer to that is Yehoshua. Now, it's interesting to me because if I would have not seen the Gemara at all, what would I have assumed was the life's work of Aaron? Not Yehoshua.
No.
His son.
Right.
His son takes him over.
Right.
He sees his son take him over. Elazar becomes the Kohen Gadol after Aharon HaKohen. Now, when it comes to Moshe does not get to see that continuity happen in his children. So what is his lifetime accomplishment, Moshe, that he gets to see in his lifetime?
It's Yeshua.
Yehoshua has to be Yehoshua. It also can't be that Moshe Rabbeinu sees his mission accomplished in terms of taking them into the land of Israel, because he doesn't see that either, right? So therefore, when we're trying to understand what the lifetime achievement is, the Gemara actually does not say what it means. It just says that they did not get to see the work of their hand, destroyed in their lifetime. So I found it so interesting that, at least on a pshat level, Aharon, his life's work is Elazar, his own son. And Moshe's life's work is Yehoshua. It is not necessarily so, the fact that the thing that we think is our life's work will turn out to be our life's work. Moshe asked God that who should take him over? His children. Right? We read that in the Pasuk. That Moshe saw Elazar take over Aharon. So he comes to God and he says, Yifkod Hashem Elokei Aruchot. Hashem should appoint a leader. Our Chachamim explained that Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, I want my children to rule after me. Just like Aharon had his children ruling after him. So that means that Moshe thought that his son was going to be the fulfillment of his life's work, at least according to this Gemara. Turns out, who is it? Yehoshua. But the Pasuk, the Gemara here is telling us that was Moshe's legacy. I think that's fascinating. That a person could work on a legacy their whole life, and actually that does not come to fruition, but they left a legacy that is called their legacy. How crazy is that? Like, you could spend maybe your whole life working on building up a synagogue, and you know what? You think you did pretty well, but actually it was not your legacy. It was something else that happened along the way. You created a student, you created a program, you gave an idea. How amazing is that? Now, I want to add in the reverse. Who anoints David HaMelech as king, as the new king? Shmuel.
So he undoes his own thing.
So Shmuel, even if Shaul would have died in Shmuel's life, it would not have undone his legacy. You know why? Because it's not that he brought a king to Israel, he brought kings to Israel. What do we see from this? An unbelievable lesson in the Gemara. And this, I think, what the Gemara's words are really saying. Shemuel said, please don't let my life's work, my legacy be destroyed in my life. Shaul could have died, and then what would have Shmuel's legacy been? The fact that he brought kings to the Jews. What does God say? Why can't he get rid of Shaul earlier and let David start being king right now? Why can't he do that?
Can't have two kingships at once.
No, because Shaul would have died earlier. There wouldn't have been two.
Oh.
What does the Gemara say? Why can't Shaul die earlier?
Because he didn't see his full legacy.
No. What did the Gemara say?
Because Shmuel...
Lo Shavik Shmuel. Shmuel won't let. Why? Because he'd asked. He says, I don't want to see my legacy. I don't want to see my legacy taken down in my life. That means, and listen carefully,
I get it.
even though the legacy of your life is not necessarily what you think it is, and that's still called your legacy, like we see by Moshe, that Yehoshua is his legacy. Even though he expected his legacy to be his children, the fact that Shemuel wrongly maybe considered Shaul to be his legacy was enough that God would not, even though that was not his legacy, contradict his version of what his legacy was in his lifetime.
He was so
How cool is that? That's what it means to look at a Gemara and not read it quickly, but to realize what's really being said here. You got that? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's taking into account not just the truth of Shemuel's words, but also the feelings of Shemuel, the emotions of Shemuel, even if they are incorrect in the final analysis. And his feelings are ordering God around. Feelings. Oh, right? Right? Crazy. Baruch Hashem. So with that, we will draw to a close with Ezrat Hashem. We'll pick up next week. I need to run to the 10:30. How do you call it? Giving the gift of warmth. If any of you want to join us, more than welcome to.